because she is back and on track for a good show of woo tonight. Tiffany Weiss, you look lovely and talented tonight. Thank you for joining us. And, excuse me. I don't know. All right, we got about 40 seconds. A great way to support this show, everyone, is by hitting that thumbs up or thumbs down, hitting that subscribe button if you are brand new. And the Super Chat is open. Don't forget, you can do a little shopping at the SOR Vault. Go to facebook.com/the SOR Vault to grab your T-shirts, hoodies, ball caps today. We're going to be getting some new swag here very soon. I'm picking up some tomorrow, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Fabster, good to have you back, brother. And Jason Hotop, good to see you. We're good to go here in about 5 seconds, everyone. Let's have a great show. Sebastien Martin is our guest. Here we go. Around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, KPNL, and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including Rockin' Up Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirt's SOR News Fund. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Sebastien Martin is a Canadian entrepreneur born in France who has built an international health food brand over the last decade with offices around the world. But it was back in November of 2011 where he had a close encounter of the fifth kind with a stellar being living in a fifth-dimensional reality in his living room. He had communications with this being and the rest of the star family ever since, receiving frequent and powerful downloads, all aimed to raise our consciousness and change our vibration. He is a remote viewer. He has been given news on the secret space program, and we're going to get more into it with Sebastien as the night goes on. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Sebastien Martin, my good friend, good to have you back on Spaced Out Radio. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Dave, for having me again. And I would like to give you a public apology for my last lack of appearance, I guess. But I did have some personal issues that I could not make it on time. I do apologize. So I'm glad you had, is it Lauren Fenton on the show instead of me?
Yes.
I hope it went well. I'm sure it did. She's a great lady to work with, so I'm sure she did a great show with you.
It was fantastic. It was fantastic.
Excellent.
You know, the beautiful part about this show is, you know, I know with somebody like you and you and I, we extend our friendship beyond the radio side. We talk actually a few times a month here just to kind of break things down and see how things are going in the weird and strange, because you have to keep in touch with your contacts. So I knew it was something that was up when we couldn't get a hold of you that night. So on behalf of us, we're not too worried about it, Sebastien. You're still a great friend of this show and of mine, and we're always glad to have you join us on the air here.
Well, I'm really happy about that, because otherwise I don't know how would I be able to make it for the next 2 hours.
Exactly. I could have got you back. Hey, Sebastien, you're scheduled for tonight. No, you're not. No, I wouldn't do that. My friend, for people who don't know your story, you are somebody who literally left the corporate world because of a major experience that you had. I read it in the intro, but go into detail about that so people can understand how this entire phenomena changed your entire perspective on life, because you're a businessman. You're a suit. You are someone who, did very, very well financially, to the point where you could have retired at the age of probably 35, but yet here you are having to retire for a different reason.
Right. Well, I mean, I kind of retired because I put the business for sale at the time in 2005. Sorry, 2014. So I started the business in 2005, put it for sale in 2014, and that's because of at the time my wife was having some health issues, and we didn't really know what was going to happen, and so we put it for sale because at the time the business was growing, and we had to either put more collateral for the business using our house and more of the assets that we had, pretty much starting from scratch, or sell. And so we didn't want to take the risk, and so we sold everything. We kept, some shares in the business, some equity, but the majority of the business was sold to shareholders and directors in New York and Mexico, and I remained chairman of the board for 2 years. So in 2016, I basically decided to talk to my CEO at the time, because I resigned from the role of CEO when the business owners, the new business owners, took over. And I told her, I said, look, I'm basically going to be very open about my experiences. I had some UFO sightings, and I'm going to be doing some interviews talking about my experiences. And she said, yeah, it's probably best if you resign. So that was the decision that I had to make, was to either stay quiet about the whole thing and live a lie, or being very truthful about my experiences and living my life the way it should be. And so I had an encounter in 2011, and basically for like 5 years, I kept it quiet in the business world. I never shared it with anyone. I had some very strange experiences, obviously, as time went by, and I wrote it in a book, and I did many interviews on the topic. We talked about it together. But at the time, it was still pretty, weird for me to combine that with the business, and sharing it with shareholders or even my CEO, who was like an MBA type of person and was not really that open to the topic. And but I had to be honest. And since I could not combine the two as chairman of the board and someone who would be going on interviews on on radio shows and these sort of things, I decided to resign. I still remain director because that's the role that they could not remove from me, but I became kind of a silent partner, let's say, because I'm still involved in the business today, but it's more like on board meetings and these sort of things. I'm not part of the day-to-day anymore. I'm still active in that sense, and I did retire at 35, but that was basically just a choice for me to share, my information with the public. I didn't have to, but I basically shared what I wanted to share at the time. And if I had nothing to share, then there's nothing to share, and then that's pretty much it. I'm not running after the hype of the entertainment. This is what people do in the entertainment industry and the consciousness movement. This is filled with people who are basically chasing that next topic, that next theme to talk about on, basically, radio shows and, conferences and these sort of things. And that's on me. I'm not this kind of person who will be part of a, TV series or these sort of things like on Gaia TV or whatever, because that's not the kind of person I am. I could not come up with new ideas just for the sake of coming up with new themes and new topics. I don't want to make things up, which is most likely what happens in in these shows. So that's basically my life. I'm honest. I'm trying to be as honest as possible, and that's where I am today.
Your experiences that you had that led you out of the corporate world, they were very personable to you. It was almost like these were experiences in the making, and then when they happened in 2011, much like mine started in 2011,
Mm-hmm.
and they were life altering for you. to the point where, you changed, like you said, you changed your entire landscape of who you are, of what you're all about. What kind of
Yes.
person was Sebastien Martin before this happened?
I was all about the money. It was about making the next million, and very shallow person. Like I didn't have time for anything else. It was all about work, work, work. Basically just adding up the hours, and nothing else mattered. It was pretty sad, but that was my life, and I made that business my life. And when my wife became sick, that's when everything changed as well. That's when we had to make decisions because, since she had children, obviously I was very happy to be a father as well and everything else. But what I'm saying is I didn't have much time for other things other than work and family life. That's what I had to deal with. So it was very hard for me to even find like a day off or whatever. So it was, especially with young kids, my children were very, very young when we saw the business. And so the kind of person I was then was not interested in UFOs or consciousness. In fact, at the time, I was just like joking around the idea of people were talking about consciousness as people swimming with dolphins because I thought that was just too far-fetched and I didn't believe a thing. So when I started hearing about Mount Shasta as a voice in my head, things started to shift. I mean, obviously, I had the constant dreams and visions, which was plaguing my life on a daily basis. And that was kind of annoying, actually, because it was not helping me with my work. I was constantly seeing catastrophic events, lots of these things that never occurred, obviously, but some of them obviously led to me meeting very interesting people in my life and kind of led me into the remote viewing world, simply because after my encounter in 2011, I started developing some gifts, I guess, or some abilities that I didn't have before, not to that extent. And it kind of got reinforced, over time. And gradually things start to unfold in a very organic manner that I could, for example, like almost like channel information rather than trying to remote view something, and things will just come to me. So without any efforts whatsoever. So I do get it when I can, see some channelers downloading information, because to be honest with you, when I've been with you and on other shows, and I've been on many interviews and part of documentaries and these sort of things. In fact, there are some documentaries coming up, and I think maybe some of them are already or will be available on Gaia TV. And that's actually including Sibella Claire, who is a filmmaker. I don't know if you know her. She's from New York, and she interviewed me like 3 times. So it's part of 3 documentaries. And, to be honest with you, I never really got prepared for these documentaries. And somehow the information just came out. And Sibella was able to tell me that whatever I was talking about, this information was already mentioned by other people specializing on the topic. So it's not like I was really making it up. It's just something that somehow I just knew, and it just came down that way, and I just talked about those topics, on camera. That's pretty much what I did.
Your alien encounter that you had to kind of kick your entire life, your second life, if we could call it that, into going and jumping from neutral to 5th gear right off the bat. Was that a complete shock with you? Did you believe in UFOs or
No.
or anything like that?
No, not at all. In fact, when the encounter occurred, as I said before, it started as a dream.
Mm-hmm.
And when I woke up in the morning, I could remember this face with that, boyish face with big eyes, and he looked like almost like Brad Pitt, on steroids with big eyes, nice hairdo, and maybe better than yours, in fact. And he just was very interested in me, very like smiling at me with a big bright smile. And that's what shocked me, because it seemed to me like he recognized me in a dream. But when I woke up, that face remained, stay there, very present. And I, still remember it to this day. And that was back in 2011. And so when I woke up and I went to work on that day, it was actually a bank holiday, November 11th, went to my office, working by myself on my laptop. And then through the window, I could still see his face. He was still there, present for the whole day. And it's only towards the end of the day that when I sat down on my sofa after dinner, I decided to remain there by myself, that after closing my eyes and trying to meditate on it, see what was going on, that's when I felt this whirlwind around me, and he showed up. He was basically standing up right in front of me in full form. Well, to that time, I only saw his bust, so I never saw his full body. But when I opened my eyes, when I felt like this energy whirlwind stopped around me, when I opened my eyes, he was standing up right in front of me. So for sure, everything changed from that moment, because it was a strange experience for sure. I was not frightened per se, which is strange. I don't know why, but I was not. I was more curious, I guess. The first thing that obviously came to my mind was, get out of my house. I basically saw it as an invader, but I'm very good usually with stress. I've been in the army. I know how to handle these situations. I could have defended myself, but he was not threatening per se. He was just like standing up there, blue haze all around him, and I was just looking at him. And to be honest with you, what panicked me the most was that I could not move and I could not stand up. I was sitting on my sofa, and that's what changed, because we had this kind of conversation for a while. I don't know how long exactly. And when he disappeared, I regained movements. I was able to stand up and walk back into my kitchen. And that's when I looked down on the floor, remembering that day and thinking that I completely lost my mind. So that's what really, truly changed for me, because it completely shattered all the experiences I had or belief systems I had. And I was kind of acquainted to certain paranormal experiences and seeing ghosts and these sort of things over time, but not something like that. That was very, very unusual. Let alone even seeing a UFO. I'd never seen a UFO before. So seeing an actual alien being in my living room was definitely something totally new. Let's put it that way.
For those who don't know how life-altering and changing it is, this past weekend I did a story for UAPresearch.com with Samantha Mowat, who I believe you know as well, and we were talking about the experiencers and those who have experienced this type of phenomena. It's very hard to, or very easy to downgrade and downplay the extent of what trauma, whether good or bad, an encounter has. Why do you think the UFO field in general has such a tough time, Sebastien, accepting people's encounters these days?
Well, I think, it's not so much that. I think it's that they have a certain belief system that if you have a traumatic experience, then that's more valid than a blissful experience that should be, positive, which is kind of wrong. There are certain people in the field who are praising that, and I'm completely dead against it. I think the experience doesn't have to be like traumatic to the extent of like a bad alien abduction where people are, feeling raped or, degraded in some manner, or, just having their uterus removed or whatever it is. You just name it. I understand that some people may have those experiences, and I don't discredit them. I'm just saying that for those who believe that some experiences might be just a simple change, because somehow there's a connection there that doesn't have to be harmful, then my experience was definitely real for me. But I understand that people may not believe it's real, or have lots of doubts about it. It's you have to prove to them that this is real because they want to see for themselves. And then if they do, then they might feel panicked and, and these sort of things. So it's not for everyone. And to me, it felt like I was ready for this. I guess I was not, like I said, frightened and highly disturbed to the point of losing my mind and trying to commit suicide or going on pills. I never took any pills in my life, so it's not something that I was doing. And I never smoked marijuana. This is not something that was for me. So again, people could have tried to discredit my experience based on all of these factors, or I was insane, or whatever. I mean, you can just name whatever you want. But this is what, again, the clash within this industry from those who believe that real alien abductees should have a traumatic experience or not. I mean, Stephen Greer is the first one where she says, you know what, I don't think that it should be traumatic. I think it should be a blissful experience. I'm actually kind of on those lines. I do believe that there should be an exchange. I also believe there's a lot of manipulation within the alien world. Don't get me wrong. I don't believe this is all nice and cozy. I think there are some beings that are in it for themselves, who could be potentially very selfish, who just want to download information from us and learn from us in some manner. Even if we might look like apes to them, and we study animals on a daily basis in laboratories, we are probably no different to them than those beings. That's just sentient beings who have to be studied for the sake of it. Somehow, if we are their ancestors, looking at timelines, this is again what I've got as a download and communication with those beings myself, believing that we could be the ancestors of many of these alien races in the future. And then obviously with technologies, those beings can come back to this time and explore what went wrong, or what's going on with us. They are very curious about the past, our past, and that's fine.
We have 2 minutes before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. We have Sebastien Martin on tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Do you believe, Sebastien, that experiencers, because the majority of UFO people and researchers want the science of it all, they want the governmental side of it all, they want disclosure, do you think experiencers are getting the short end of the stick?
Well, I think experiencers are, first of all, some of the experiencers, like myself, we had our experiences, and regardless of what the government does, what they want to disclose or not, whatever we've experienced cannot be taken away from us. So regardless of what happens on the side, for the majority of the people, this doesn't really take away the experience we all had. It's something we can still learn from individually, and that's all that matters, really. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a very lonely journey, but that's what it is. This journey is not meant for other people. If I experienced it for myself, it was for a reason, and everybody is in the same boat. We have to accept it or refuse it, and some people are there to seek answers because they don't get it, they can't understand what's happening to them. These are the ones who basically suffer from those experiences. And somewhat they may want to look for answers through the government. Good luck with that. But I've been trying to get some information from TV, websites, and there's so much disinformation out there. And then to this day, it's been non-stop, because the majority of the experiences know what's right and what's wrong. They have this kind of gut feeling that whatever the experience is real, or whatever is experienced out there can be real or false, based on what they've also experienced. So it's kind of annoying that we all share, I do believe.
Right. Sebastien, I'm going to get you to hold that. I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Sebastien Martin talks ETs, UFOs, TTSA, remote viewing, secret space program, a lot of Spaced Out Radio coming up next. Hello. Okay, we're clear. Adrianos, Dave, is any of these interviews real? What's real?
What interviews?
I don't know.
You interviews? My interviews?
I don't
Which
know.
interviews?
Adrianos, you got to be a little bit more specific on that. Hey, Rich Hilke, how you doing, man? And, guess who's here? The gorgeous and talented Jessica McCreary has arrived, Sebastien. The gorgeous and talented Jessica McCreary. She has beautiful hair.
Hello, Jessica.
Yes, beautiful hair. She's probably blushing right now, talking to her radio. We can't hear her. And now she's laughing because she was talking to the radio. Yes. Be honest, Jessica McCreary, you were laughing. Cherie Arellano says, hello, Sebastien.
Hi, Sherry. How is California these days?
Yeah. Jessica gave us 3 hearts for that. 3 hearts. So, yes, I would say she goes blushing, yes, and laughing. You see? We called that, buddy. We called that. Oh, man. Cherie says she's doing terrible. But she's going to be our guest on Thursday night here, and I'm going to totally butcher her name, calling her Cherry Arellano. Cherry Arellano. Have you ever met her husband? Great guy. Fantastic guy. Good-looking guy, too. Very good-looking guy.
Yep, he is.
Dirty Filth, good to see you here. I got myself a stress ball for Christmas. And I'll tell you, this thing feels great.
It looks like what my dog would love to have.
Yeah. Yeah, your dog would take one bite from a dog. Oh, I'll tell you an interesting story. This is truthful. In the last 3 weeks, I have had a ghost dog in my yard.
My God, I just had the same thing tonight.
Me too.
I mean, I swear to God, this is what happened to me. I was putting my sheep away. I've got like 11 sheep and some goats.
Yeah.
And I put them away. I bring them in with some grains. And they're usually like standing outside, calling me in, just like. And then actually tonight was late, and I just realized they were still outside. So I went in with some grains, and I could see them outside. And as they were all rushing into the barn, because obviously I had the grains in my hands, in a few totes and stuff and buckets, and I could see this like white shape in the background, and it just like ran away instead of going in. And it was pretty large. It looked probably bigger than the sheep, and so I went inside. In the back of my head, thinking, oh, it's probably a sheep, and one of those that would don't want to go back inside the barn. So I basically like put the buckets on the ground, and then I went outside looking for that lost sheep who was remaining outside to call her in. And there was nothing. So I went back in, and I just counted all the sheep I had, and they were all there.
Weird. Well,
so basically like shut the door, and then I left.
Yeah.
And I just realized if it was like a cougar or something, the sheep would have been like frantic. They would have been crazy. Yes. But they were not doing anything. They were perfectly fine. So it looks like there was something amongst them that was not frightening.
Yeah.
But it was big. And let's see, like we ran away as soon as I arrived there. We don't have like wild dogs per se really like now. Yeah. Especially in this kind of weather when it's raining and these sort of things. And that shape was like really, really like large, long, like looking like a large dog.
Yeah.
Almost like a Great Pyrenees.
Wow. That is.
And it was like white.
See,
white.
Mine has. We only got about a minute here. Mine has. It looks like my black German Shepherd. Walks like my black German Shepherd. So I saw it a couple weeks ago when I was standing on my patio. Called the dogs up. I saw it right below me. Thought it was my dog's shadow until it disappeared. And then a few days later, I saw it walking along the fence line from my patio. Okay, and I thought it was the dog again. And then tonight, my dogs were down, and my driveway is kind of sloped, and I have some trees that separate mine and my neighbor's yard. And I saw it walking up, and I yelled up to my dog's Shadow, "Get back down here!" And I looked down beside my dog Doug, and Shadow's standing there beside my dog Doug, and my dogs were not responsive to that at all. So that's 3 times I've seen a German Shepherd shadow ghost dog. 1 second here. All right. Hey, Andrew, how you doing? Good to have you here. And who else has joined us? M. Kuhns, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. Big thank you to Vinster, Chris Reap, and Human Carl for the super chats. Here we go with the second half hour, everyone. Hold on. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you taking the time to tune us on in. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with remote viewer, UFO experiencer, ET experiencer, author Sebastien Martin is back. Sebastien, welcome back.
Thank you, Dave.
Now, I know you wanted to touch on the recent changes earlier, late last year and now going into this year to the Stars Academy, where Luis Elizondo, Chris Mellon, and Steve Justice all departed, and now we still haven't to this day heard anything from the TTSA regarding these departures. Are you surprised by this?
Not at all. In fact, it kind of follows suits with what I've heard from the SSP people and government level. It makes total sense to me. In fact, it was kind of the right move because, what's happening right now is, with the Trump administration and all the big kerfuffle in the politics, there was so much going on that basically some of the top officials in those programs believe that there was too much chaos going on that was not stabilizing all of these agencies together. And so there was like major clashes within the administrations. And so like people departed, people got fired, it was just such a mess. I mean, I'm just talking about logistics here. And, at the end, the disclosure events of UFO disclosure that was supposed to be happening in 2020 is not going to happen because of all of these movements of disturbances that occurred in the political realm. And that's been pretty damaging to many of these organizations and associations that were trying to help out with the disclosure. And I think, again, based on the pressure that those people had in the entertainment industry and the consciousness movement, which is, largely about that, has, suffered the consequences of that. And so the people, the serious people with information, said enough of this. We're not going to try to, come up with false information here. We have real information, but enough of the bullshit, enough of the entertainment aspect, and let's try to be real. And that's why now there's a major clash between those who basically want to entertain, like the singer of B-52, whatever it's called, and basically the people in the entertainment industry. Like you have Corey Good with his comic books and comic things, whatever he's doing, and suing everybody in the consciousness movement. So you have all of these people, who are basically trying to hang on to the old consciousness movement that used to exist, and the new one that's going to be emerging from that clash, that's going to be creating more of a cleaner, purer, information database and organizations that will be established by the same people who are now departing these locations like TTSA and all of that, because they believe that this is it can't go on the way it is. It's not about the History Channel. It's not about entertaining, people. It's about providing real information to help humanity, and not so much to, sell the next book or sell the next show on TV.
Okay, so the fact that we can pretty much cancel any type of disclosure right now,
Hmm.
okay, because of the political unrest, because of the group splitting up. How does TTSA resolve itself and rebuild itself? Because when you lose your two top members in Chris Mellon and Lou Elizondo, I mean, we have to forget. I mean, or we cannot forget that they are a business after all. And when you lose two key
Yeah,
parts of your business, you have to
yeah,
refocus pretty darn quick if you want it to succeed.
yeah. TTSA will most likely disappear in oblivion. I don't believe they will just remain. If they do, it's just simply going to be based on entertainment and false information. I mean, I don't want to say false information, but I don't want to be sued for anything. I'm just saying the real information from people in government won't be going to TTSA anymore, I don't believe. I think, in my opinion, the people who used to work for those agencies are leaving with that information, with their contacts. They want to establish something different, and they did say that. Like Luis Elizondo said that, Chris Mellon will follow. They're going to be creating something bigger, more impactful, that would be less based on entertainment and more about real data coming from the Pentagon, something that would be making more like national news on a regular basis. We're going to be seeing more of that in the future, and it's definitely a bit more serious than what it used to be. That's what I'm seeing. That's what I've been hearing. So I'm hoping for the best, but I don't believe this is going to happen. I would say like in the next 6 months, but it's definitely going to be happening in the next year.
Okay, so the fact is though they still have some very big key players, whether it's Hal Puthoff, whether it's Jim Semivan, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's other scientists that are involved, even ones that were behind the scenes. You know, my
Mm-hmm.
biggest complaint probably with TTSA, and I had many, but probably the biggest one that I had was the fact that they really went out of their way to alienate themselves, pun intended, from the UFO community. I think
Right.
I think this is a good time for them, if they wanted to, would be to rebrand themselves as the cause for the people. Because MUFON isn't doing it. They haven't made
Mm-hmm.
any changes since Jan Harzan was called out and arrested for trying to pick up a 13-year-old girl, which is
Mm-hmm.
disgusting. But
Mm-hmm.
there's nobody really who has stepped up to the game saying we want to take control of this and we want leadership. I think they have a real chance of doing that, but somehow I don't think they're going to do that, and that is get involved with the UFO community.
Well, I don't think that TTSA will be able to do a much better job with the people they have on board now. If it's not about entertainment, I mean, Al Puthoff is not getting any younger. You got all of these people now who are basically. To be honest with you, I believe, and again, I'm not involved in any of these businesses, and I'm not politically biased or in any way. I'm just trying to give you my direct opinion based on what I know, and I think that they will be struggling with the right amount of information to. I mean, I don't know exactly what will be coming their way once those guys are leaving or they already left, but I don't think they will be left with much to deal with, down the line.
Mm-hmm.
So renewing themselves might be very, very difficult if you just have the entertainment aspect to use, which obviously was the main reason why those guys left in the first place, because they want to become more of a platform for entertaining the public, not so much informing them, but entertaining them, because that's what sells. But that's what the mass majority of the people who are not into the consciousness movement, we just live by the hype of the situation, will be looking at, and which is pretty much what you get on the History Channel as well. I think there's a lot of that. I think it's all about the entertainment, and so some of those stories can be manipulated, changed, so it can look good and fantastic. It doesn't mean it's completely true, but I guess like pretty much like fairy tales. The basis of those are very real, but then you get skewed and changed to fit a certain story. That's what we'll be seeing in that part, and that's what I'm saying. The government the CIA has been very good at changing that aspect, trying to misinform the public. And we're going to be seeing more of that directly from the consciousness movement, because they're going to be like holding on to straws and trying to just make it happen, because that's their way of survival. They want to survive and make the movement still exist. And I don't know. I mean, with what? With downloads, with channeling information. I mean, it's sure you can have some of that, but I don't think TSA is all about that. I think they just want to have real footage, and are they ever going to be able to see that coming their way, down the line? I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think so either. It's going to be interesting to see where it goes. But as for the field of ufology, as we have focused more on the disclosure aspect and the technological side of everything, in your opinion, what are we missing today from ufology?
Oh, God. What we are missing in terms of ufology, I think what we're missing is not just like the belief component. I think people do tend to believe. It's more about trying to trust themselves, because all I can see, like you've seen that with those statues, or those monuments erected all around the world.
Yeah.
With aluminum and metal, sheets and all of that. All of that it's definitely like get up towards a false prophet movement idea. Like people are grasping on like, a deity of some sort that's out there, and they're trying to say, maybe they're just here to pick us up, and they're just desperate. People are just desperate. They want change, and that's what I'm seeing within the consciousness movement as well. And you can see a lot of that. It's called desperation. And that's pretty sad, because, that's when people can be easily manipulated in those times. And, with COVID and all these things that are currently happening, more and more people are just looking for answers and for some solutions. And, if they don't rely on vaccines, they want to rely on some kind of alien being that will come over and cleanse the whole planet from all the trauma and the drama that happens right now. But it's not going to happen. It's not going to be like the salvation bell that people are expecting. It's not that. There are plans already in place for humanity, and it doesn't include, cleansing the viruses that have been created by man or not for the betterment of humanity. It's all about trying to fit in within that space and trying to make dues with it. So, if it's about adapting to the situation, most likely that's exactly what the aliens are looking for. They want us to adapt to any situation, because we're pretty resilient as a human race. We can adapt. Our bodies always adapt to those situations down the line. And sure, there will be, people dying, and that's what happens all the time. But what I'm saying is, don't expect any salvations coming from alien beings to save humanity from the cuckoo politicians and vaccines and all these diseases, because that's not the answer. The answer is within us. We have to be smarter, and realizing that we can rise from that. It just takes time. Everything takes time, and we just have to be smart about that too. We can't just be taking stupid risks, and we just have to ride the wave and see what happens. But down the line, what I know, again, this is what I've been shared with by people in government and so on, is that there are some plans for alien beings to get established on Earth once certain areas, I won't say where, certain areas on the planet will be vacated for different reasons. It could be from human migration. And so some alien beings will be moving into certain colonies and remain there, and won't be disturbed by human beings, because the human beings won't be able to get to those locations for different reasons. If it's, climatic, if it's basically just too hot to move there, but those beings will be perfectly fine, living in those locations, then that's what's going to happen. And we talk about the secret space program. People in government are helping those beings to get established down the line. It doesn't mean that it could be happening in the next like 3 months, but I would say the next decade, that's the plan. And all of the stuff that we're currently going through, this was already planned in a way that they were already anticipating that any kind of disaster, whatever, including mass death and control of humanity, control of space, all of that was already part of the scenarios that those guys were working on many different levels. They had so many different ways of dealing with human migration through different schematics that they had. It's just mind-boggling, and it was very much done pragmatically. It was done, on computers, and there was no human emotions involved. It was either like, well, let's say, well, what happens if 50 million people die there? Oh, that's all right. You get to deal with it. It's pretty much how those guys were working with. It's just very, very cold-hearted, situations, but they were kind of looking at different situations to deal with alien beings versus, humans on Earth.
How do we try and bridge that gap, Sebastien, between us as humans wanting to know what's going on, the need to know what's going on, and are we ready to know what's going on?
I don't believe that we'll ever be ready to know what's going on. I mean, just based on my experience, I can say that I don't have all the answers, and I certainly don't understand all the stuff that happened to me. I had many episodes where I don't remember a thing, so I don't have all of the answers. I think some of the information that I got access to, even if it was blacked out from me, I got access to it. I remembered it. I had a lot of information shared with me on that level, which was very, very difficult for me to swallow and understand, but I did it. But it took me years. I mean, we're now, 2021, and I basically just had 10 years of that, dealing with this. And it's still difficult because it's not consistent. For me, it's not consistent. I don't receive communications on a daily basis. I sometimes, get information coming my way, and it's kind of like it's dumped on my lap and thinking, this is, for you, and deal with it. So there's no warning. And luckily enough, based on my background and being very logical, pragmatic, trying to analyze everything, even from my own experiences, I've been very critical of my own experiences. And so that's basically what allowed me to cope with everything that came my way. So if you gave the same information to a person who had zero experience with aliens, with UFOs, with this kind of reality, this would be very, very difficult for them to handle this new reality. Very difficult. They will not be able to function. They will be scared because the first thing that comes to mind is fearing what you don't understand. Fear of the unknown is the worst thing that could happen. I mean, look, Christianity has used it for centuries for a reason, because that's how they can control the people. And unfortunately, if we have to embrace new technologies, new alien realities, we would have to understand or have a much better grasp on what happens in quantum physics and quantum mechanics and all of that, because this is already kind of explained theoretically, but in reality, it's very, very difficult to understand, and let alone to experience. I mean, I've experienced quite a fair bit of that on my level, with just about bilocation alone. When you bilocate and people see you at two different locations at once, this can be done in a lab. It can be done with a marble. I wrote that in my book. This was like a Nobel Prize of Physics. It can happen. But when you stretch it up to tri-dimensional realities and all these kind of things, it becomes so complex that the amount of dimensions that we have to deal with on Earth alone, most people will not be able to understand and cope with it, because it's just too difficult to, one, understand, and too difficult for our brains to comprehend. We just have to adapt to situations physically when they happen or occur to us, and we just have to see if we can understand it and cope with it. And on the other hand, we just have to learn about those situations, like those dimensions, and whatever happens to us, let's say in this reality. Let's say you have an alien being coming from a different dimension. You may interpret it very differently from your perspective than they see it from their perspective, because they have a much better understanding of dimensions than you do. So we are just like, again, I mentioned it so many times before, we are like kindergarteners in a world of aliens. So you may have like a PhD in this human life, but it means nothing, in terms of the consciousness movement, because in those of these multiple dimensions and these sort of things, we are completely lost in that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so as we got about 3 minutes to go here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour, do you believe humanity on a whole, with 7.8 billion people on this planet, are ready for any type of ET disclosure?
To some extent, yes. I think, we can accept certain realities, like the presence of UFOs from outer space is being drawn into media for the last years. So I think they all accepted it as reality. The Vatican mentioned it. I mean, you have so many newscasts about that. With those crafts, from the Pentagons and all of that. I mean, you have footage out there that shows that this reality exists. The point is, we don't understand. Many people nowadays would try to say, well, those crafts were probably the drones from a different country, or technologies from secret programs, that other countries are using into our space. And that's exactly what the Space Force was all about. It was created to control space, not so much about invasions of alien forces coming to Earth, but maybe from other programs that are in existence in other countries invading our spaces without proper authorizations, because they don't care, and they can spy on many countries that way, outside satellite technology. That's probably why those forces were created as well. I mean, obviously down the line, we may see certain UFOs invading our atmosphere, and those UFOs will be faced with hostility from us directly. And again, that's also the job of the space program. Laser beams sent their way from Earth has already happened, and I'm sure it will happen again. But those things also occurred from all of these nuclear silos being targeted by those UFOs, trying to dismantle them or disable them, to say this is enough. You don't need to use that technology anymore. Just go with 0-point energy or whatever. But nobody listens. And so those programs are more nefarious to aliens than they are to help humanity, really, per se. It's completely contradictory to what people believe. It's not necessarily positive. It's more negative to me. So are they ready to embrace this reality? Either way, those programs like the Space Force exist to prevent the public to know what truly goes on in space, to prevent disclosure, to prevent all of that to happen. That's my fear.
On that note, Sebastien, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. Our guest tonight, Sebastien Martin, he's a remote viewer. He is an ET contactee. He is an author. He is somebody who has deep contacts within the remote viewing and governmental communities when it comes to UFOs, extraterrestrials, and the secrets behind them. We're going to dig into more of this and get into the secret space program with Sebastien Martin in hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. So do yourself a favor and hold on tight. All right, buddy, we're clear?
Good.
I'm just going to run my dogs outside. I'll be right back, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
And we have some cool swag for you to pick up. All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
The party is always on. Moose Van Hoover. The Moose Van Hoover is where you know you can visit Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose brings at the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right here? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
There you go.
Hey, buddy, how
Yeah.
are you? All right, we got you. We've got about...
We're back on.
Yeah, we only got about 2 minutes here.
Okay.
Hello, Eric with a K. Welcome back to your 4th favorite show. Number 4. We're number 4.
No, I did say like number 1.
No, Eric with a K just teases like that, but we are number 4 in his realm.
Oh.
He even marked it today because TalkStream Live came out with their ratings for the year, and they had us projected really low, which I don't really care about anyways, but he's like, no, they should be number 4. I thought, well, look at that euphemism right there. Look at that euphemism right there. So, who else we got here? Who else is new? $5,900. Welcome to the chat room here. We are working on the audio for Spreaker. I didn't have a chance to meet up with Chuck this weekend, my audio guy, but it is something that we are knowing about, and we will get it dealt with hopefully here very soon, probably this week. Hello, Trust Divine Mercy. Welcome back. And we're about 45 seconds away. Who else has joined us late here? Maverick LSC, welcome to our chat room. Thank you for joining us. I think we're good. Big shout out to Vinster, Chris Reap, and Human Carl for the super chats tonight. Great way to support what we do on this show. Thank you so much for being with us. Everyone, Sebastien Martin is our guest. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down or thumbs sideways. And you can shop at facebook.com/the SOR Vault. Here we go. Hour number 2 on Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune us on in wherever you are in this great land we call North America. And we welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates and digitally on KPNL, Revolution Radio, and TalkStream Live. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What do you got for us, Clam? Emphytusis. Emphytusis is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with our guest, Sebastien Martin. We're going to get into the secret space program. What is it all about? Is it real? Where are these alleged craft based? Sebastien, welcome back.
Well, thank you, Dave. Well, that's a very broad question. The secret space program is actually not just one location. It's basically like worldwide. It's got bases on other planets, on the moon, on Mars. I mean, it's basically beyond the scope of the Earth realm. Like, he's got so many technologies already out there that we don't understand. I mean, I know that from a fact that even NASA actually received information from representative of the secret space program that is so obsolete for them that they give it away to NASA for free. and they say, you know what, you can have that because we don't need it anymore. It's like 50 years old to us. That's the kind of technology that they're dealing with. So when you basically deal with crafts, seen in space, in our space, you think, well, those could be aliens, but there are a lot of them that are actually part of the secret space program already. And sure enough, they've been reverse engineered to be fitting, our world, our existence, so we can drive them. But it's a very large program. And again, the majority of the people will say, well, it doesn't exist. It's all fake. It's all this and all of that. But I know people who actually work for these programs personally, and they're the ones who basically show up on, major channels and these sort of things, on TV shows. They keep it very quiet. They fear for their lives. They don't want to be mentioned. And they usually said to me, if you have to go on a radio show and talk about this, say what if. Always put a question mark at the end. Never come with definite answers because it could be detrimental to people working on those programs, like me included, those kind of things. So I have to be very, very cautious and careful, not so much for people listening, but for them and for their protection, because those guys are real. And I know that, like I said, many people doubt it, and there's a lot of hype on top of that. For what has been mediatized, like used in the media, that is completely false information, riding on stories that were created by many people in the consciousness movement. And I've been witnessing that for years, and I was just like sick to my stomach. And it doesn't really matter what I say, it still happens because it makes money. That's the entertainment aspect that I completely despise, because I'm not about making money off that industry. For me, it is about trying to share the real information to help the people. And so when I see that, that kind of sickens me and it saddens me. But those programs do exist, and those people are very real, and that's what I can say about it. What else do you have for me as questions to do with that?
Okay, so is the entire world's government in on this secret space program, or is it just a United States thing?
No, it's pretty much worldwide. I mean, I would say major key governments know about it. It doesn't mean they are directly involved, because you have to realize that most of these agencies work because they are contractors. They have more money than the government could ever have. So they are mostly independent, but they also worked with one another because they find allies in other countries, and they are rich people in many countries. So whoever can participate and help out, and that's what the governments are trying to bank on. They want to receive contracts from those people, for certain technologies that they want to put their hands on. And so some of that is being given, to them at a cost, but they won't give it away for free, because that's how they make their money.
Okay, so is this coming off of government black budget then?
No, not the secret space program is not a black budget program. No.
So where do they get the funding to make these multi-billion-dollar aircraft?
It's not. Well, there are some very wealthy, people out there that gave the money. There's also money that has been made out of thin air. I'm not talking about bitcoins, but it's close. And you basically have those dark programs that try to bank on the secret space program to get the technologies from them, and they do have money, to pay for such technology, and this is not approved by Congress. So you have different schemes that are being developed by those shadow governments in the drug trade. As you know, you have deals in gold, trading diamonds, like in the mines, like in Africa. All of that. It's happening on a regular basis, and you have all the Emirates and all the princes in various, basically governments like around, like especially like Dubai. So all of these people have money, and you can imagine that all of these representatives already have a base there. They are well established in those places, and they do deals to create companies and trade like insane money on a daily or weekly basis to pay for those technologies. It's not about buying food. It's not about trying to ward off the next recession. It's all about technology, and it's about ownership. It's about fighting against the next big country that may have this technology before them. It's competition. It's a business world as well. And you also have to realize that those programs, those people working in secret space programs, while some of them, again, it's very fragmented, because you have certain people who used to work for the government, let's say for the Pentagon or whatever, in other countries like in Australia, you have people who work for the Navy, who ended up working for those programs. And the transitions for them, for those people working for the Navy, for example, and then ending up in those programs, sometimes the transition is so smooth, they still believe they work for the Navy because they don't know any better. They are still being paid. They still believe that they work for the good guys or whatever. And then, things are being shifted so smoothly that they don't have a clue who pays them. But they still do their job because they are followers. They are, basically respecting the orders that are given to them from people working sometimes within the same units as they are. And this is how all of these government agencies are being infiltrated by those people in very high-level government agencies that are not so regimented by, countries per se.
Okay,
so that's the reason why they are more independent.
Okay, so where are they parking these craft? Are they stationed
mostly underground? Mostly underground.
Well, you would figure on the ground usually helps. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Right? No, but seriously, are they parking them at bases like Area 51? Is there a secret area in this world where they are parking these craft?
My God, Dave. There are so many places like in Europe that nobody knows about that are inside mountains, where sides of mountains will open up and those craft will go in. You have to realize that most of these technologies rely on plasma technology, and they feed off like ancient volcanoes and plasma running through the volcanoes to get energized. It's all like linked to that. That's the reason why you have so many sightings of those crafts in major volcanic eruptions around the world, and it's taken on film, and you can see it on stations around the world and these sort of things. And you can go to Mount Adams and all these places, like you can see that happening because that's where those crafts are being parked. It's not just like in an underground facility like in Area 51, which is not so secretive anymore. There are way more secretive locations in America alone that are not even known to the public because, they won't be hidden from the public for a reason. So they are not known. So they kind of gave away the Area 51 for the public to go there as a tourist site, like, Walt Disney. But if you go to those other sites, like I can tell you, you can't even get nearby. It's either like very located in canyons, very deep down where, you have no cars being able to access them. It's all underground. Even the channels to get to those locations are drilled underground for like miles on end. So you can't even see a car going into the tunnels because it's all in like secret checkpoints and locations that are not known to man. It's so well mapped out around the world.
Okay. So where can this technology that we allegedly have, I'm going to assume this is faster than hypersonic.
Yes. Yeah, it's you know what happens in CERN, in Switzerland. You have those colliders, right? They try to recreate the Big Bang and all of that, and try to even create wormholes and these sort of things. Well, the same thing happens in Vancouver. Are you aware of that?
I did not know that.
Yeah. Well, there's actually the same facility underneath Vancouver, going underneath Simon Fraser University, and it's taking all over Vancouver underground, and most people don't know about it. It's kind of funny, but those places exist for a reason. That this is what the government want to try to achieve. They want to recreate what the secret space program already has. And all of this technology, and this is actually from real information. This information that's been given to them to recreate that overnight, within like a week, has been given to them by the secret space program, so they can come up with it and work it out for their own technology because they won't give their own technology to the government.
Okay, what's the purpose of hiding this and keeping it away from the benefits of humankind?
Money and control. That's all it's about. nothing else. And I think one another reason is you have to realize that those programs exist not because the people in charge would still want to control, what they have. It doesn't mean that they are fully in charge of their own program, because the ETs who actually work with them basically are there to help them. And we've seen this with Charles Hall, with the the tall whites and everything else, So it's very well known, very well documented that you have a lot of alien races working with the government, and some who are not part of government organizations, who basically prefer to work with like agencies like the Secret Space Program, for example, and that's to do with their own interests. It's not to do with the human interests; it's for their own interests. So the Secret Space Program respect that, and they have to, because if they don't, those guys will just leave. And there's no way those human beings can chain them down. They can't control them. So it's a give and take. So when you think about all of the alien abductions and all the stuff that happens, a lot of that is actually also created by the Secret Space Program. And that's the reason why some people say, "Oh, I've seen some human beings in the room, and I've seen some, people along with some aliens." And all of that is created by those organizations, so they can do tests on people, and they agree to it.
Okay, so with the technology that is allegedly out there, as per your saying, where are we traveling to? And how are we getting there? Are we getting there through craft? Are we getting there through jump rooms? Are we getting there through some sort of other type of technology?
Well, there are some jump rooms, there are some crafts. So it depends on where you want to go. If you use a craft, it's usually to go through like wormholes, and you can, Usually, like, it's to travel from one point to another. If you want to go to one single destination, you just use a jump room. If you want to go back in the past, you can also use a jump room. Or go to the future. And even if the future can be undetermined, that's the danger of going to the future, is because it's not fixed. So whatever you may see might not become a true reality. And so that could change. It could be like an alternative reality. And again, that's where we talk about quantum physics and different realities that may exist or may not exist. So whatever you see from the future, and again, it's the same thing with the Looking Glass project. Whatever they were able to see through the Looking Glass technology was not set in stone, because things could change.
Okay, well, let's talk about jump rooms here for a minute before we jump into other areas. These jump rooms, they have been alleged for a number of years, most of which through somebody who is not very well trusted within the field of ufology or conspiracy, and that would be Andrew Bishago, Washington State lawyer who claims he was a child chrononaut. But I mean, if by chance that this has been going on, how are you finding out about the reality of this program and where it's based?
How do I find out myself?
Yes.
Well, it's because of the people I've been working with for the last 10 years.
Okay. Tease us a little bit.
Well, I mean, like, it didn't happen overnight, obviously, but as I got connected to one person who I was able to connect with, basically I was able to help. I helped save lives in many cases. And so those people, using my remote viewing experiences, I was able to help people. And those people started to trust me on a human level. I never got paid from those programs at the time. I was just, helping out because I had visions, and I was somehow connecting myself to those lives. And it was very unknown to me at the time, like who they were, what they were doing, but somehow I was able to understand what they were involved in based on what I was seeing. And that was a big, big problem at the time because I was infringing on something that I was not supposed to know. And so my life got pretty much, changed at that point because I was under a lot of scrutiny. I won't say all the details, but I went under a lot of stress at the time for many reasons because I was being tested. And I guess when I passed the test, I guess I survived everything. I was able to help more people. And that's how, knowing from one person to another, like when you know that those guys know each other, that's when you can confirm things. If you just rely on one individual, for like Andrew Basiago, you mentioned, if you just ask him one piece of information, he will talk to you about jump rooms. You trust his testimony, you believe him, whatever it is. Well, that's your belief against his. But then if you have 2 people or 3 people who have basically know each other within government agencies, work each other, if you look at Chris Mellon, you have those people who have those backgrounds, who have stories to share. And you talk to them, and then all of a sudden it becomes clearer because you will think, why would these people want to lie? Is it to still serve the agenda of an agency? But then at the same time, based on my information and what I'm able to gather and tap onto, I'm able to detect certain things and lies, and I'm very honest with the information I'm usually receiving, and therefore I'm using it to help people. So if they try to lie to me, I will know. And so when you have more than one person sharing the same information, that's where it becomes more interesting to me because I can validate it. I can't say the same thing for Andrew Basiago because I don't know who his contacts are. I know he's got his own experience, but I personally never was able to connect to that experience personally. That's what I could say. I'm sure there are some other people who will be supportive of him and can, like him, but that's not my experience.
Okay. So with these jump rooms, what are they being used for?
Well, like I already said, it's usually to jump from one location to another.
Well, I understand that, but are they used for jumping for military purposes? Are they being used for other types of purposes?
Usually, it's usually for military purposes and for secret space program people. So to go from one location to another one, so let's say to go from one base to another, they won't have to use craft. They can just send. Sometimes you have to realize those jump rooms could be fairly big. A rocket could not even take some of the equipment that those jump rooms can handle. So imagine the size of those jump rooms. It's not like your regular size elevator that can, send one human being to a different location. It's massive. So it can take in technology. It can bring out pieces of hardware, technology from one location to another. Things have been developed in the desert, that could not fit on a rocket. They will use jump rooms to send those pieces of equipment out. That's how they use mostly those pieces of equipment for, or personnel, huge amount of personnel. They will not use a jump room for just one person, unless it's a very important person or whatever for a specific reason. Then yes, but otherwise it's mostly used for, to handle mass hardware, mass specific equipment or personnel.
And where are these located?
Oh, God, all over the place. It's not just in one location. That's fairly simple technology to them that has been created in many locations. And usually they are in the same locations where you could find those massive silos where those, not silos, but locations where the crafts will be, stored as well. Usually underground, in mountain areas, in large underground facilities.
Let's carry that on when we get back from the break here, Sebastien. Sebastien Martin's talking Secret Space Program. We're going to get into remote viewing as well in the next half hour. More on Spaced Out Radio as we enter the stars right after this. good stuff, man. Good stuff.
You're welcome. You got very good questions. You really got better over the years.
I should hope so. I should hope so. I'm just challenging you more.
I love it.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm just trying to be a nice guy around here, and God willing. Oh, man.
So how many minutes do we have? Like 5?
We got 5.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, if you want to step away, go right ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you, Liz. Lizzie Pooh. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. My beard is looking not bad. Probably a good time to show you why my beard is in such good shape, because I use Mighty Moose Beard Oil. You can get it at mightymoosebeard.com. Real simple. Real simple. All you do is take it, drop it into your hands like so. It's also good for the hair, ladies. Rub your hands together, and then just massage it in. You just massage it in. Just massage it in. That's it. Hey, thank you, TH from the United Kingdom. Good morning to you, and thank you for that super chat, man. Appreciate that. MightyMooseBeard.com. It's all in Canadian dollars, people. All in Canadian dollars. So if they say like $20 on the website, when you use your promo code SOR2019, it's only about $16-17 American. It's cheap. That's how I do it. MightyMooseBeard.com. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got right there. Yes. And a new, Dutch says they're working on a few new scents and a new moustache wax as well. Very nice. Make sure you use your promo code SOR2019. Make sure you do that. We got some questions coming up, Sebastien.
Okay, I'm here.
I know you're here. You're loud.
I just came back.
I didn't know you had sheep and goats.
Oh, yeah. Well, I live on 15 acres of land, so yeah.
Yeah, nice. Nice. And you don't lose any to cougars or bears?
I did. But now I'm putting them inside the barn every night because I've lost enough against wild dogs and cougars and bears, and so that's enough. I already lost all of my chickens from raccoons and minks. So we pretty much have everything around here. We've got like a river nearby.
Yeah.
So we're in the right spot for them.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
But I like the seclusion. I like being, away from everyone. I've got my own space,
Yeah.
I've got a nice house that no one can see from the road, so like it's just for me. I didn't build it for people, onlookers, to go at my gate and have a look at my house.
Very nice. Very nice. Okay, we got about a minute and 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, saying that, Rob, do you know Rob Freeman?
Yes, good guy.
Yeah, he came over to my farm and he did an interview with me. I don't know, like a documentary that we released.
Dan Berg was there too.
Yes.
I know Danny very well.
Yeah, and so there she did like a very beautiful, drone footage of my whole farm there. It looks really nice.
Nice.
I think it's available on YouTube somewhere.
Yes. 1 second. Thank you to TH, Fapster, Trust, Vinny, Chris, and Human Carl for the super chats tonight. Really do appreciate the love and support of Spaced Out Radio. Love and support, and you can go to our website, get some Mighty Moose Beard Oil. Go to mightymoosebeard.com. Use promo code SOR2019. And if you want some shirts, go to facebook.com/the SOR Vault. Got some new stuff coming very soon. I'm going to pick some up tomorrow and get it shipped out. Here we go, guys, in about 5 seconds. Past the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning us on in. You're looking lovely and talented, as a fantastic listenership audience out there. My hair does as well. So make sure you check it on out by going and checking out our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with Sebastien Martin tonight talking about the secret space program. We're going to get into remote viewing a little bit later on. Sebastien, welcome back.
Thank you, Dave.
Question from Eric with a K. You know, we are his fourth favorite show out there. We are number 4, Sebastien. I always like to let people know that. It's not, it's nice being number 4. Very nice. And Eric is asking, have you ever seen any of these jump rooms?
Not physically, no. Not personally, but through remote viewing, through descriptions of the people working there, yes. I have a very clear picture of it. I even seen some the use of them and how they were using them. But in terms of pictures or videos, actually, no, that's not true. I did see a video of one once, actually, but that was a while ago. It was actually shipping some gold, would you believe?
Where to? The aliens up above?
Yep, but not so much to them. Well, it was for a different purpose, but it was actually for construction. And it was on pallets. There were like pallets of those things. Like, it was just incredible. Like, it was gleaming with like gold everywhere on pallets. But it was being shipped out through those jump rooms. So I saw a very close-up video of that once. And that's pretty much it. But that was, again, serving a different purpose. Like, I was being involved in different types of missions at the time. And what we forgot to mention, which was a big part of my involvement at the time as well, like I'm talking about 2 years ago, I was actually involved in stargates, and like physical stargates coming from Iraq, and that were basically moved up in various locations. And that was actually quite a fascinating work, because I was describing certain, pieces of objects that were part of the stargates that got removed by the elders of Iraq, who were basically the guardians of the stargates in Iraq. And those lineage of Iraqis were basically like super tall with like blue eyes, who don't look like the regular average Iraqi being there. Those guys were there for like centuries or thousands of years, and their main job was to guard the stargates of Iraq. And nobody knows this. It's super interesting. So you can imagine how many governments, including the Pentagon, were absolutely hands-on. They really wanted to steal all of this technology as soon as they invaded Iraq. And especially when the British, discovered that back in the 20s when they went there. And they just basically want to take over, and they did. They just stole some of the technologies. They stole, obviously, the artifacts from museums and all that, which since has been sent back to Iraq, for most of them anyway. But those technologies, have been gone and have been used to some extent by the government. So I'm talking about, from the Pentagon level, not by the secret space program, because that was still a bit, it was not even interesting to them. But those technologies do are or are being used to some extent by the government.
All right, let's move on to another question. Donnie is asking, have you ever helped Dr. Jonathan Reed?
No.
Plain and simple. All right, next one. Sovereign is asking about airships inside the mountains that you just mentioned before the break. Are those joint underground bases or 100% aliens?
Are those underground facilities aliens?
Yeah.
Or for aliens? Some are and some are not. But most of the ones that have been subjected to were mostly run by human beings, not by aliens.
Okay. Solar Warden is asking, what's your opinion of Andrew Bashago? You're obviously familiar with him. He's a lawyer, claims to have been to Mars. Do you think he's been there?
I believe that he believes he's been there. That's my opinion on him. I mean, I don't know. He believes his experience, and I don't know. I mean, I can't verify it with anybody else, but he does have like some far-fetched experiences involving Obama and all of that. But I know the man, but I don't want to really say he's lying or not. I believe he had that experience, but I can't verify it. Let's put it that way.
See, my jury is still out with him. I want to believe that story because the whole time travel aspect is just a phenomenal, phenomenal story. I want to believe it. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I also try to look at it pragmatically, too, that this is a gentleman who has made some erroneous claims that he can't prove, but yet he still hasn't been disbarred for his actions or lying from the Washington State Bar Association as a lawyer. So,
well, no, because they are separate. They are, it's like fantasy world versus reality. You can't disbar someone because he's got the idea of writing a book on science fiction. I mean, that's his private life, right? I mean, if he's good at his job and he can represent people, for their cases, maybe he's very good at it. It's like me, being in the business world, still being involved as a director, and talking about aliens the way we speak today. My colleagues and shareholders would probably ask me to go into like rehab or something, because it's far-fetched. It's very hard to believe, and for those who don't have that experience, it's very difficult to merge the two. You can't merge the two. So that's the reason why I had to dissociate myself from the day-to-day, because I could not have represented my company and do trade shows and do like public speaking and all of that while talking about this reality to me. And the thing is, for me, it is my reality. That's my life. I can't change it. I won't deny it. That's the way it is. I mean, look, I just got separated this year. My wife could have easily used that against me for the kids and whatever. Like she could have done whatever she wanted based on what I talked about, right? And as hard as it is, I probably would have lost the custody of my kids if, she went that route. But I ended up to be mostly the caregiver anyway. But the fact is that this is a reality I can't shake away. I will not lie about this reality because that's my experience.
Okay, let's move on to another question here. Sovereign is asking you if you are familiar with people disappearing near boulders during geological events, as Andrew Bashago has mentioned.
Boulders. I do believe there are some like telluric energy around those big boulders, to some extent. I think there was one event I've been to in California that involved a big boulder like that, but the First Nations of those places believe that it could be like a portal to some extent. It's possible. I never had that experience, but apparently some people felt multidimensional beings traveling through those borders and sort of things. Maybe some got abducted from there. It's possible, but again, that's not my experience. I can't really comment on that, and I don't really know enough about it to say.
All right, but you do believe, though, time travel is real.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Now, can we go back in time? Because there are people out there who say we can't go back. We can look at it, but we cannot go back.
Well, I agree with that. I think, physically speaking, you cannot go back. I believe that. Because on your own, without the use of technology, you cannot go back. There's no way. I mean, you can be like a Buddha, whatever you want to be. It's impossible. You can send your consciousness back. Like I've done it multiple times. Like I went back on many, many, many occasions using remote viewing, because you can do that with your consciousness. Bringing your whole body along with it on the ride is very difficult. And if you do, it's out of your control. So I don't know exactly how that works, to be honest. This is still things that I can't control myself, but I've done it multiple times with my consciousness. If you want to go back in time, then you have to use technology that has been used by the secret space program, not by the local government. That's for sure.
Human Carl is asking what your thoughts are about the 20 and Back program that has been part of the SSP that Corey Good talks about. And, it's not just him. We've heard Captain K. Randy Kramer speak about this. We've heard others speak about this 20 and Back program. Do you buy into it?
Not so much, because the technology to change the human condition is outside the jump room technology. And so to say that, they can change the past and the future of not just one individual, but everything that surrounds this being, its reality, the people he knew, I don't believe that's possible. And so therefore, if you just look at the nitty-gritty aspect of Corey Good's story, when he said that he was sent back 20 years and he did his experience within a secret space program, came back as a 16-year-old boy, whatever it was, and lived his life like nothing happened, I find that very hard to believe, based on the fact that everybody who saw him gone for that time being did not remember that he vanished, because apparently he vanished for, let's say a day or whatever. I'm sorry, but I just can't buy the story.
So you're not really buying into it?
I'm not buying into that, no.
All right.
I believe that for the people who can travel in time, they are sent off on a mission. They can go back, but they would have aged. They would have not changed, going back into their, old self, because that's not what those programs are all about. If you are sent in time, it's for a short period of time. It's not for like 20 years and then going back as a 16-year-old. That doesn't happen.
Okay, so if we can't go back in time, but we can somehow view it, can we go to the future?
Yep. Yes. Well, we talked about the looking glass technology. So that's what that does. It can look into the future. That's what they've used it for. And like I said, it can give you, basically details of a potential future, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be a true reality of our current reality. It's going to be a different timeline, potentially. It could be a real timeline, or it could not be. It's very, very difficult to rely on future data, because there's so many. I mean, sure, they can use it for projections and this sort of thing, saying, okay, well, what happens if we do this? Well, we could be facing that kind of situation using the looking glass technology. Okay, well, what else can we see? Can we use the technology again for seeing another timeline? And so on, so on, so on. That's exactly what they will be using the technology for in the future. But it doesn't mean that they'll be sending someone out there in the future to do something. That's not going to happen. It never happened, and I don't think it's ever going to happen, because that person could get lost and then never come back.
Okay, Sebastien Martin is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Let's continue on here. And in a few minutes, we're going to go into remote viewing, and I know there's some questions building up in the chat rooms regarding that. But Ancient Hammer is asking, what does this jump technology actually consist of? Do you know where it was designed, and where did the knowledge come from?
Well, the main, I know that the main knowledge came from aliens themselves. So they did provide some of that technology to the people in charge of those programs. As to know what they are consisting of, that is to do with the quantum physics realm that I completely bypasses me. I have no idea. What I know is it's basically changing, basically all the atoms of your body, and then the molecular structures of anything that goes into those big rooms. And what I've been able to see, and again, I don't know the technology, but what I was able to see is I can see some technology that looks like, the Tesla, like lights, going, like the beams, like plasma lights that goes through the room. I've seen that, but I don't know where it came from. I saw on the top of that chamber, there was some sort of like a dome that looked like a spherical dome on top, and that's pretty much that's what I can say. I didn't really see anything else. The room itself looks pretty clean to me. There was no like wires. There was nothing showing up. Everything looked pretty sleek on the inside. Apart from that dome on top, everything looked pretty flat, like flat walls. There was nothing else I could really know from looking at it that looked unusual or being taken out of the equation. I have no idea. I can only describe that. That's what I can remember based on what I've seen.
All right. Okay, getting back to the whole time travel aspect, do you believe that there are time travelers from the future here?
Yes. They might not be necessarily humans, but they could be, or they could be potentially humans from 10,000 years away. But they could be coming back, to see how we behave and these sort of things, because they're curious about their past. The same way as, we love to go back in the times of the dinosaurs, like Jurassic Park, But that's pretty much how and why they're doing it in the first place, is to observe, not to change anything. That's not their role. Their role is just to observe and, see what happens.
What about what about time travelers from different timelines?
Well, that's very unlikely, because if that happens, how would they be able to get back to their timeline if you talk about a timeline. It has to be the timeline that follows our history, our reality. If it's a different timeline, it's most likely that this would be very unlikely that they would come back to their own timeline if they wish to go back. It has to be matching the history.
Okay.
So it doesn't mean that it can go the other way. So like I told you before, if we try to go ourselves in the future, we may see a different timeline. There are like thousands, if not millions, of possibilities. If someone from the future wishes to come back to our timeline, that's control on their end. But it doesn't mean, that's the problem with that technology, it doesn't mean that they can go back to their timeline. I'm talking about something very linear here. So if you think about our own timeline, if it follows suits and we just carry on the way it is today, those guys have to come from exactly the same timeline as our timeline. If they're from a different timeline, it's very unlikely that they will be able to observe what happens in our reality. It's just too complex. There are too many factors that would be going sideways, and that may make a strip back impossible.
Okay. So if we can have, so what you're saying is right now we don't have the technology to go back in time, but the future would have the technology to time travel back to where we are.
Oh, no, we have the technology to go back in time. What I'm saying is it has to be in our own timeline.
Okay.
And we don't have the technology to go in the future, because if we can, I mean, it does exist. What I'm saying is, if we send someone out there in the future, we might not know what is our future because it's still moving, it's still changing. There's nothing set in stone in our own timeline. It doesn't work both ways. So whoever is in our future already has our past as an anchor, so they can go back to it. You know, it's already happened. But if we try to go in the future ourselves, we don't know what the future will be made of exactly, because it could change all the time. So it doesn't work the same way.
Could we go back in the past to change current events?
Yes, but it doesn't happen that way, because that would screw up so many things. That this is one of the main things that the aliens would just prevent us from managing or using. That would be to our detriment, and they would definitely, the one thing that would put their veto on within the secret space program would be one of those. They would not allow us to change the past for the betterment of humanity, because whatever has happened and will not change.
Okay, that makes sense. I guess we're going to start into the remote viewing here, because we only got about 2.5 minutes left before we have to go to break. And the next portion of the show, because we got you for another 30 minutes after this one, where I want to kind of get into the whole idea of remote viewing, what it's like. For people who may not know what remote viewing is, give us a couple minute synopsis of what it's detailed to.
Sure. So basically, anyone can do remote viewing. It's accessible to anyone. You know, you can learn it through AmiSync. The Monroe Institute developed a method to actually teach it to people, and you can take seminars to do it. And that's basically just trying to see what's out there. So it could be, outside your room. It could be very narrow. I mean, I did it with kids. My daughter was an excellent remote viewer. She was able to do it within like 7 minutes. And she was so good at it that she was able to see objects, behind the wall. Completely blindfolded, she was able to see her surroundings. She was able to see very, very clearly whatever happens around her. So, it can happen to anybody. And, Rob Freeman is another guy who does it all the time. With Wendy, they always do those YouTube, podcasts, and they share their experiences on that. So you can practice it. And I guess for me, the way it happened is like I didn't know anything about remote viewing when it fell on my lap. It just happened to me from the visions I had. And then from then, those visions became more controlled. So I was able to access, different realities, I guess, and even going back in the past to have an effect on the future, to save people's lives. So, and the way you do things like that, for me, it's I can project myself or my consciousness, never physical. I can project my consciousness into different situations, and sometimes through people. So I can see events through the eyes of other people. That's usually what happens to me. I very rarely see events through my own eyes.
Right.
Let's put it that way.
Right.
And that's my experience. And I'm sure a lot of different people have different experiences.
Right.
Using remote viewing, but because I was never trained to do it, for me it kind of works differently.
Right.
But
Sebastien, I'm going to get you to hold right there. We're going to get more into remote viewing with our guest tonight, Sebastien Martin on Spaced Out Radio. Yes. Can you stare into anything you want, see the results? We'll find out next on the Mighty SOR. All right, we're clear. Before I go and check out my dogs, in our chat room tonight, the lovely and talented and birthday girl, Elizabeth Anglin. Let's give her a few claps for a birthday for Liz. We love you, Liz. Happy birthday. There we go. And I hope you have a wonderful one, Liz. Thank you for coming on in. We love you. And, Sebastien, I'm just going to run my dogs out. I'll be right back. We got about 5.5 minutes, okay?
Okay.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spicing up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and mustaches around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
The party is always on. Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you know you can visit Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly. The Moose runs at the Rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right here? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckard, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hello, this is your tall man, Ron Bumblefoot Powell, and I have to get the whole over his wife from Space Out Radio fan. It's amazing. Music is what's going on supernatural. You can head over to our website, music, all workshops, touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm sure people are listening to Spaced Out Radio. You know little brother is watching.
Hi, Sebastien. I am
Hi.
back.
Yes.
All right. Hi, Scott. I know you're listening and texting.
Yeah, he is.
He's a good dude.
Oh, yeah. Has he told you about his alien encounter?
No.
He's very shy. He should, share it with you.
Well, we'll tweak his nipples a little bit and get him going. All right, we've got just under a minute here.
Okay.
So once again, just stay with me through the break, and I'll say goodnight to you through the break. Okay.
Okay.
And go from there. 10 seconds or about 30 seconds. Big thank you to TH, Fabster, Trust, Vinny, Chris, and Human Carl for the amazing super chats tonight. Thank you for everybody who's tuned on in. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you're new here. Hit that subscribe button. We want to hit 15,000 by my birthday, which is May 24th. And we're creeping on up. We just passed 10,000 about a week ago. And we want to get more into it, man. Want to get more into it? We need your help and your support. Hit that subscribe button. Here we go, everyone. Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Welcome to the show. My name is Dave Scott. We really appreciate earning your listening ears. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. I got tongue-tied. Emphythusis, or something along those lines. Not even going to try and say it twice, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we introduce Sebastien Martin. He is a Canadian researcher, remote viewer, and we're talking remote viewing right now, Sebastien. And right before the break, you were kind of defining what it was. Can anybody do this?
Yes. In fact, I believe that, anyone could achieve this through different methods. You can do it through meditation. I think the easiest and quickest way of doing it is using EmiSync, because, even like meditators, Buddhist monks have been using it after 20, 30 years of meditation, and they say, this can be done so easily using EmiSync, because you are basically merging the two hemispheres of the brain to somehow experience something. If it's to do with the spirits, or if it's to do with remote viewing, it definitely enables something in your brain or in your consciousness that triggers something that creates that. I've done it for basically just contacting the spirits with Paul Elder in Nanu's Bay on Vancouver Island, and I found that experience very enlightening to me. I really experienced every aspect of it for 5 days. It was very interesting, and I was able to communicate, with 17 other people in the group. It was very, very interesting and very intense, because they were like long hours dealing with this. But because I never did EmiSync before, I basically wanted to volunteer to do that, and Paul actually wrote the one of the introductions of my book when I published it. So I really think that method really works well for those who are not really inclined and want to learn more about it. Then you have the alien abductees, who definitely would have more abilities to achieve such results, in many capacities to do with remote viewing, visions. I mean, it's very all close. I mean, when you have some person who is a psychic, by nature, they would definitely be able to see more by opening his mind or her mind to this topic. That was my case. I was already, seeing things in the past, through dreams and, in broad daylight, I had like visions and that occurred as well. And then once you can channel that and you can focus on them, then you can control it more. And I've done it through hypnosis. That's how it started for me anyway. And that helped me focus more on the visions, and I was able to trigger them on demand, which was not something that was easy at first. And I was able to do it that way. And then after years of practice, I could just be like cooking my breakfast and have a remote viewing session with some military, bodies in Iraq or whatever, and that could happen that quick. So, depending on the opportunities and the ability of the person, you can start. Anyone can start learning the piano. It doesn't mean that you become a prodigy overnight, but or become a prodigy. But you can still, dwell into that realm to understand how it works and practice it, because anyone can do this. It's this is all part of our reality. Again, once again, it's if you understand our reality through quantum physics, you can open your mind to these possibilities. If you don't, and your mind is closed, nothing will happen, because you are too closed-minded to have that experience. If you are too negative, you have to be able to open up your mind to this idea that it could happen, that you can see beyond. Like I did an experiment like not long ago. I was actually relaxing outside, and where I am now, actually on the chair, and then it was in broad daylight, and I was relaxing myself. I was meditating, and all of a sudden I could feel my jaws drop because I was, sitting down. And all of a sudden I became aware of my jaws dropping. And I was just focusing on that while being fully awake. But my eyes were closed and I was fully relaxed. And as I was observing that situation, I'll say without realizing that, very quickly, my field of vision opened up. And I was transported right in front of the trees on my property boundary line, and I was right in front of the leaves, basically flowing through the wind, and I was not basically on the ground anymore. I was leveled with pretty much the top of the tree lines, and I was observing the vibrant life on those trees with the energy and everything going through it. I was listening to the wind blowing through those leaves, and then I got bored out of it, and I just came out of it, and then I just woke up, and I guess I opened my eyes, and it was fine. But I said woke up. I just opened my eyes. It was very effortless, and like I said, anyone could achieve this through meditation, relaxation, sync with intent. All of these could happen. The same way as remote viewing can happen through the C5 method that Stephen Greer has developed for communicating with the ETs in the cosmos, for telling them where you are. So you send your intent out there, and then you hope that those crafts will show up wherever you are located. That's pretty much what he's teaching, out there. It's kind of remote viewing. It's how to call, crafts or aliens or an actual reality that happens somewhere else.
Okay, so what would be the purpose of remote viewing? Now, we do know that the United States government and the Russians for decades have had these remote viewing teams, especially during the Cold War, where they were trying to figure out where all the nuclear weapons were, what was going on inside the Kremlin, so on and so forth. is that still going on, number one? But number two, what's the purpose of it?
Well, for information. It's all about information. The Pentagon has used it through the Stargate project program, and they say that it got publicly shut down once it got into the Washington Post and in the media because it got leaked. And to be honest with you, that program never got shut down. It has been compartmentalized, so it got changed in a way that it was not as easy to divulge information or share information with the public or the media, because no one would have a true reality of what really goes on. And so that program still does exist within America. It does happen also in Canada. In fact, well, I won't go there. But it does exist in many countries. In France, it does exist in many of the Five Eye organizations. So it does include New Zealand, Australia, England, Canada, and America. And France is actually one of the members, but they're not officially accepted as part of the Five Eye organization. But all of these government agencies do use remote viewing for that purpose. For information, it's basically remote spying. They just spy on private organizations or situations, sometimes in the future, sometimes in the past, sometimes on just people, just individuals, just to get information. That's how I got involved into that. So it's very eclectic, and it has different purposes. And when you go up in the echelon of agencies bypassing the governments, then you have the secret space program that also use remote viewers for different missions, outer space or whatever, and then they're using it for different reasons. Corey Good actually mentioned that as well. Like he was actually using the word as an empath to feel something. It's not about feeling; it's about seeing more than just feeling something.
Question for you from Human Carl, who is asking, have you also been able to go out of body using HemiSync? If so, what Wu-type places did you travel to?
Yes. So the 5-day seminar I took with Paul Elder was to do with out-of-body experiences. And so I was basically coming out of my body every day. So, knowing how to roll, how to have your soul roll inside your body and, witnessing that was pretty interesting, because you feel that your body is a big mass of flesh and bones, and your soul basically just comes out of that, and you can observe it. I observed myself, which was a very interesting experience while you are wide awake and you're doing an exercise, and you do that for hours on end during the day and for 5 days in a row, and you get spaced out. Like Paul says, you get buzzed, because you are definitely buzzed by the experience from the amount of frequency that you're being subjected to have those kind of experiences, because it's very unique for sure.
Okay.
So
where were you able to go? Were you able to just pick a place in the universe?
Okay, so I've done that. Well, there were different exercises that we're not supposed to be talking about, because at some point we reached a level that was so advanced that our group was not supposed to be going there. So I won't try to, cause problems to Paul on that level. But it was a very interesting, experience that led us to what I saw as an alien abduction. For the whole group in our, workshop. And I prevented it somehow. I don't know how I done that, but I was able to stop it. And everybody, you have to realize that everybody in the group was doing that experience, that emitting session at the same time. So we're all listening to the same thing from the same machine that Paul had in his bedroom or room, whatever he was using. So we will be listening to the same thing in our headsets. And I was able to, at some point, see everyone being lifted up that was the goal. We're supposed to be like leaving our body and feeding it that way, and it was a very unique experience as well. But then I saw a gray alien, and I saw that as an alien abduction, and they were trying to get into our soul, like to steal our soul, to do some experiments with it. And I blocked it with my consciousness because I was more aware of them. And the way people described it at the time was like it felt like everything stopped, like they were stopped in midair while raising up. Like you can imagine someone being abducted, they being rising up through like this white tunnel of light, whatever. And that's exactly what happened to those guys. And then all of a sudden they felt that they were levitating. They were just like stopped, blocked in a process of being, sucked up in the air. And it was my doing. And when I mentioned that to them at the end, and I mentioned to Paul as well during that exercise, that was not supposed to happen. And he did mention about the Gradians, but it was a very it was a discussion that we should not have had, let's say, because I think at some point there are certain things that we can't control through remote viewing or through emisync, because once you have frequencies being involved, some entities might be using that as a way to get to us, through our soul systems. And we may not be able to control that because, again, we're just trying to live an experience. And that's what those people were in a workshop for. I was there because I was curious, but I had way more experiences. That's why I felt everything, and I was able to describe all the experiences we went through during that workshop. But most of these people that were there didn't have any experience before. And so to them it was weird, but I was able to connect to some dead relatives of the participants. I connected to the brother of a woman there who died, and as an out-of-body experience, I was able to communicate with him. And he shared some information with me that I passed along, and she said, "Yep, that's him." And as soon as we talked about this in the kitchen during a break, lunch or dinner, whatever it was, I think it was dinner, the light bulb above us completely just exploded. And the brother was known to be like a poltergeist in the family. Like he was not, you still want to communicate with his family, and somehow I was able to reach out to him through this emitting session. So in terms of realms, yeah, sure, I was able to communicate with spirits. In terms of going to space and see UFOs and aliens, no. Apart from that experience when it was this kind of alien abduction, as a mass alien abduction, yes. But again, it was something that stopped. It did not carry through. Nobody was, never saw the gradient the way I saw it, and that's where it stopped. But otherwise, it was just about spirits and out-of-body experiences, and just travel through cosmos or whatever it was, and that was fun.
Okay, so when we remote view, and I'm getting a few questions coming in, if you don't mind.
Yep.
When we remote view, we always hear of it as a nefarious type governmental secret project. What is the purpose for looking up on the moon, or checking what's inside the Kremlin, or looking to see where Bigfoot is located?
Yeah, it's like I said before, it's about spying. People want to have answers. They want to find out if they can check on people. Are they legit? I basically was able to find some double agents that way. It's just the way it happens. Because you can read their mind in a way. You can see what their actions would be, and that was part of my work. That's what I was part of doing. And in terms of remote viewing for the moon or programs like that, I don't know. I've never been involved in that. I don't know about remote viewing on the backside of the moon, or because I don't think that's necessary anyway. But if people in workshops want to remote the inside of the moon, that would be a very interesting trip. But that would not be a government organization doing it, because they already have the answers for that.
Okay, let's get into some quick audience questions. We only have a couple minutes left with you.
Okay.
And Vinny is asking, have you ever remote viewed the moon?
Yes. Yes, so basically the moon, the way I saw it was a very, like a honeycomb shape type of structure that had a lot of metallic structure to it on the outside, like close to the surface. A lot of cavities for storage, technology, plasma technology. So it's definitely, to me, artificial more than natural. It's definitely not natural at all. To know that the moon is mined, like I heard that many times, like the backside or the dark side of the moon is mined for whatever ores or whatever. That is impossible because the moon is not a natural, satellite. It's man-made, man-made. It's technology basically that was created so life could exist the way it does on Earth. Without the moon, we would have like tsunamis and all the time. Like life on Earth would not be the way it is today, as we know it. That's for sure. So the moon has been put there on purpose for a reason, so we could have that kind of existence. But to know that the Secret Space Program and other agencies are there, yes. Are they working with aliens? Yes and no. I mean, some aliens respect their privacy in a way, and they, again, it's all about, contracts. They have contracts between each other, so they respect each other's boundaries and spaces.
Right.
So that's the reason why the Secret Space Program is more on the back side of the moon than it is on the front side of the moon. You have many entrance ways to access it. And again, the whole space that you can see from, like, with a telescope is very different from what it looks like, because everything is shadowed. Everything is being changed for your perception. So whatever is being observed from Earth is not truly what happens on a regular basis over there. And that happens on a mass scale. So you can imagine like the size of the moon, and somehow there's a huge screen that appears right in front of the moon that completely changes the perception of people observing it from Earth.
Right.
And it's so slight that nobody notices it.
We got 1 minute left. Let's get in one more question here. This one comes from Scarborough, Sasquatch. Are remote viewings monitored by the Mind Police or something like that? And we got 1 minute.
No, it doesn't work that way because, unless you fall into the form of a contract, which I was very, very close to do, and I didn't do it. Then once you are an employee, you become a tool and you are under their thumb. You basically have to do whatever they tell you to do. And if you don't, you could be killed for it because you become too much of a danger to them. That's the reality of the situation. So if you accept that position as a freelancer, then that becomes a very different situation. You have a bit more freedom, but that means you also are not given the same clearance as those who are employees. That's pretty much how it works. That's my experience.
Well, my friend, I want to say thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio. It's always a pleasure to have you on, Sebastien, and we'll do it again very, very soon once again, my friend.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, Dave. It's always a pleasure.
Quickly, 10 seconds. Let everybody know where they can find your book.
Oh, my book. So it's Inner Journey in Outer Space, and that's available on Amazon.com and Amazon.ca and Amazon.co.uk and in all the Amazon species.
Perfect. Coming up next, we got the news wire and the thought of the day. Stay tuned. Good job, buddy.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, that was good stuff. That was a lot of fun.
Do you have any questions of your own?
No, we'll talk.
Okay. Oh, wait, how is she on air?
I'll give you a call by this weekend.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, brother. You take care.
All right, you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Sebastian Martin, everyone. Sebastian effing Martin, right there. Human Carl, I apologize I didn't get to your other question, man. I do apologize to everybody who I couldn't get to their questions. Hello, Blixie. Hello, Lunar Tina. Got some fun news tonight. Fun news. Fun news. Hi, Shar. Oh, let's see here. Nice to see birthday girl Elizabeth Anglin in the chat room tonight. Very nice. Hi, Dolly. How are you, beautiful? You never say hi to me on Facebook anymore. I guess you're not a fan. I'm teasing. Thank you for coming on in. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button. Hit it. Hit it. Hey, Alan Young. How you doing, man? Scrub? Who the hell is Scrub? Now, Alien Carl won't MK Ultra me. What do you say there, Corrance? How's your mustache? Give us an update on your mustache if you don't mind, Corrance. We'd appreciate it. Thank you, Scarborough. Where have you been hiding? You haven't been around the chat room in a long time. He did not. Science Bob shaved his beard? Oh, no. here. And we got 30 seconds. Oh, that's terrible. He didn't even text me to tell me he was doing such heinous things. Not a thing. Weird. Alright. Well, let's get ready for this. You know what? Let's all keep it quiet. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate you taking the time. I want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, tell you what you can do. You can go to our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Speaking of the news, is always changing, which is why we bring in the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show where we get the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the downright odd. We're going to start in Sherbrooke, Quebec. A Sherbrooke husband and wife were handed a sizable fine for violating curfew despite the wife's protest that she was walking her dog and the fact that the husband was wearing a leash. The woman and her husband were each given $1,500 fines by police for violating curfew. The pair was caught walking at 9 p.m. on Saturday evening. Police said the two were walking towards downtown and did not cooperate with the officers. When questioned by police, the couple said they were happy to receive the ticket and claimed they were following the rules set forth by Premier François Legault. Quebec's officials have said people may walk their dogs after 8 p.m. curfew provided they stay within 1 kilometer of their house. Over the first weekend under curfew, police officers across Quebec handed out 750 tickets worth thousands of dollars in fines to people caught after 8 p.m. So in other words, don't walk your spouse if you don't want to get a ticket in Quebec after 8 p.m. Megalodon, here we go again, the apex predator of the seas, largest shark to ever live at nearly 60 feet in length. Recently published studies suggest the massive shark reached its epic size because of autophagy. The hell is autophagy? Well, it's a kind of cannibalism behavior, apparently. The research published in the Scientific Journal of Historical Biology suggests that these massive sharks were born more than 6 feet in length thanks to eating undeveloped siblings while still in the belly of the mother. Yes, autophagy. Autophagy. Yes, the gigantism of O. megalodon is attributed to the evolution of regional endothermy, possibly along with the inferred live-bearing reproductive mode involving intauterine cannibalism in the form of autophagy. Researchers wrote, we got to use that word on here a little bit more. Autophagy. Say it with me. It's actually pretty hard to roll off the tongue. Autophagy. It's fun to say, though. Exactly how O. megalodon developed throughout his lifetime remains largely at the realm of speculations, though. However, in utero cannibalism is not uncommon among sharks. In November 2019, a species of shark discovered in Kansas also portrayed in utero cannibalistic behavior. See, this is why we don't go in oceans. Sharks will eat themselves. You think you're safe as a human? No, they eat themselves, people. They eat themselves. Who thinks that you're not going to be next? Yeah, in September, a separate group of researchers determined the true size of Megalodon's body including its huge fins based on fossils. A 52.5-foot-long megalodon likely had a head of 15.3 feet long, a dorsal fin approximately 5.3 feet tall, and a tail around 12.6 feet high. The scientists, led by Kenshu Shimada, using a number of methods to come up with their findings, including CT scans with multiple X-rays, to reconstruct fossils and get an idea of how large a megalodon was at birth. Shimada and other experts also determined that the massive shark grew 6.3 inches per year for the first 50 years of its life. Megalodons had a life expectancy of around 88 years, but could have reached up to 100 years old. Either way, straight-on killer. Now, you got to be a real jerk to do something like this. All right? No, and I'm actually being serious here. You know, just disgusting behavior by Florida man or Florida woman. The sighting in Florida this week of a manatee with Trump etched in its block letters on its back has prompted an investigation and a plea for help from a nonprofit conservation group. The Center for Biological Diversity said it was offering a $5,000 reward for information leading to the conviction for the cruel and illegal mutilation of a threatened manatee in the Homosassa River in Citrus County, Florida. It's heartbreaking that this manatee was the subject of vile criminal acts, Jacqueline Lopez says. It's clear that whoever harmed this defenseless gentle giant is capable of doing grave violence and needs to be apprehended immediately. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission began investigating after the manatee was discovered on Sunday with scarring in the form of the president's name. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service said that the manatee did not appear to be seriously injured, as it seems a word was written on the algae on the animal's back. Patrick Rose, the executive director of the nonprofit Save the Manatee Club, said he has seen the photos of the manatee earlier and was quite disturbed. Yeah, this is disgusting. You got to be a real... I can't even use the language that I want to use in order to do something like that to an innocent animal. You really do. Right? Keep the politics away. Speaking of politics, as we go that way, how's this for an ex-wife? Well, a Texas man has been arrested for his role in Wednesday's riot at the Capitol because his ex-wife turned him in. Talk about hating someone. Oh my. Larry Rendell Brock faces 2 federal charges of knowingly entering a restricted building without lawful entering and 1 count of violent entry and disorderly conduct. Brock surrendered to FBI agents after the 53-year-old agreed to meet with them at the police department in Grapevine, Texas. Brock's arrest affidavit alleges that more than one person turned in Brock after recognizing him in the news footage, but his ex-wife of 18 years was one of the people who reported him to the FBI. I just know that when I saw this was happening, I was afraid he would be there, Brock's ex-wife allegedly said. And lo and behold, guess who was there? Yeah, Mr. Brock. Another person reported Brock saying he recognized the distinctive tattoos. Looks like him as he has pilot wings on his chest in this picture. He was an A-10 pilot, worked at L3, an aerospace and defense company, and still has contacts that work within the L3 that he knew was flying to Washington, D.C. Brock confirmed that the pictures from the Senate chamber were of him. He was dressed wearing a green helmet and body armor in the photos. In an interview, he said that he believed that there had been significant election fraud despite the repeated failure of legal teams to show any evidence of this. Well, now you're going to jail. It's just that simple. Let's go to British Columbia here, where a Surrey woman has been told by her strata council to get rid of her beloved dog Scout. Why? Because the 9-month-old golden retriever is more than 14 inches tall at the shoulder, contrary to Boundary Park Place's bylaw governing pet height. After unsuccessfully trying to fight it rather than say goodbye to her pet, Rabia Mirani has decided to sell her Newton home and move on. It's kind of become a bit of an uncomfortable environment, and unfortunately there's a few people in this building that just aren't really demonstrating kind of values that I want to make sure I live by, And so for that reason, I want to find a new place where both Scout and I will be welcome. Good for you. Good for you, Miss Marani. Marani received a letter from the strata manager, Kathy, a.k.a. Karen Blake, on November 6th with a copy of the council president telling her your dog is already taller than the bylaw permits, 14 inches at the shoulder, and as such, the strata council voted that you must remove the dog from the premises. The date the dog must be removed is by December 6th. However, Marani said, nope, not gonna do it. Good for her. She's an incredible dog. She actually is my first puppy. I've had pets before, but she's my first dog, and it's been wonderful because I work from home now. She has been my saving grace this past year. I got her when she was exactly 8 weeks old. She's been with me every single day since then, and I just can't, it wouldn't be my home. Like, I wouldn't want to live here without her. It wouldn't be my home without her. Good for you. Good for you. The dog is important. That's an owner taking responsibility. While the Karens on Strata Council, who have never had power before in their life, go to flex their muscles as per usual. If you're on Strata Council, shame on you. Any Strata Council. You got to be, don't even get me started on that. They're no fun people. They're the kind of people who go on an airplane. Hey, we need a doctor here. I'm on Strata Council. That is against our bylaws for anybody to have a heart attack on an airplane. It's true. Totally true. Restaurant in Britain attempted to use weather balloons to send a samosa to space, but the food item ended up crash landing in France. Niraj Gadar, owner of the Chaiwala Eatery in Bath, England, said he came up with the idea to send a samosa to space as a means of bringing some mirth to what has been a difficult time. I love this guy. I said as a joke once that I would send a samosa into space, and then I thought during these bleak times we could all use a reason to laugh. The feedback is that it's brought a lot of laughter from people, and that's what we really wanted to do, spread joy. Gadar and his friends attached the samosa to a weather balloon to see how high it would go. Yeah. They outfitted it with a GoPro camera and a GPS tracker so they could follow the food item's journey. But shortly after launch, they discovered the GPS was malfunctioning. Gadar said that he thought the project was a loss, but the next day the GPS reactivated and revealed the balloon had crashed in a field in Pécadie, France. An Instagram user with the handle Axel Mathon set out on a mission to find the crash site, and he said he was shocked to find the balloon and the box containing the GoPro, the GPS, and the samosa. I want to know if he ate the samosa, because I'll be honest with you, I would have downed that thing fast. I haven't had a good samosa since I lived in the Fraser Valley, and trust me, there's a lot of great Indian restaurants in the Fraser Valley, and I am dying for a good samosa. So if anybody out there would like to send me samosas, I am accepting samosas as bribery to get your name on the radio. I really am. God, I love samosas. Oh, my mouth is just watering just saying it. Customs officers in the Netherlands have begun seizing ham sandwiches and other seemingly minor food items from drivers attempting to enter the country from Britain as a result of Brexit regulations. A Dutch news crew from the TV broadcaster Avotros aired footage of the Netherlands customs officers confiscating sandwiches and other foods from drivers crossing over from Britain via the Hook of Holland ferry terminal. The footage showed one driver turning over multiple sandwiches to apologetic officers. The customs officers explained the fallout from Brexit resulted in a ban on personal imports of items including meat, dairy, produce, and other food items. The British Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs issued guidance suggestions that drivers use, consume, or dispose of any food items in their car before attempting to enter the European Union from Britain. From the 1st of January 2021, you will not be able to bring products of an animal origin, such as those containing meat or dairy, into the EU, the department said. The Netherlands, being Dutch as usual, customs agencies posted a video on Facebook showing food items that had been confiscated at the ferry since regulations went into effect. Doesn't this remind you of Michael Keaton? Or not Michael Keaton. Well, what's his name? Goldfinger, or Goldmember's father. Anyways, people who are intolerant of others, and hating the Dutch. Yeah, the Dutch. Dangerous. I got to say that quietly because people upstairs in my house are Dutch. Shh. Anyways. Oh, I don't know about this one. Don't know where Shirky Poo's mind was giving us this one for the news. Last year, nestled among the booths at CES unveiled an untouched veggie platter and hordes of tired tech journalists. This journalist came across the Taint Band-Aid. You heard me correctly. At the time, the Taint Band-Aid was more concept than actual product, as are many gadgets at this event. Morari Medical, the company behind the Taint Band-Aid, had a fairly minimalistic booth. There was a computer running a slideshow about premature ejaculation and a penisless mannequin with what appeared to be a Band-Aid on its perineum. We have several questions about what it would do. It's been 1 year since the journalists have laid eyes on this, and, due to due diligence, wondering what it's all about. So, while it doesn't really have an official name yet, apparently this product, the Taint Band-Aid moniker, is going to be embraced. Over the past year, the company has tested the patch on real people during beta testing, resulting in a prototype to help men and women out, if you know what I mean. We realized we had to make a couple of modifications to the product from the original design, but it's getting where they need it to be. Taint Band-Aids, people. This is our time. And finally tonight, we haven't had a good Florida story in a long time, so let's just go there, okay? 2 men charged in Polk County, Florida, accused of stealing 4 sets of human remains in a cemetery as part of their religious practice. Yes. Brian Montalvo Tolentino and Juan Burgos Lopez face 4 counts of disturbing contents of a grave and abusing of a dead body. DNA evidence led authorities to Tolentino after the bodies were removed from Edgewood Cemetery in Mount Dora last month. The men told investigators they took the remains, 3 of which belonged to deceased veterans, as part of their religion. Tolentino and Burgos Lopez were practicing Palo Mayombe, which branches off of the Santeria and was developed in Cuba among enslaved Central Africans. Investigators executed a search warrant of Burgos Lopez's home, where they found a religious shrine and 7 skulls in a shed. 4 of the skulls belonged to the remains from Mount Dora. The men told authorities 2 others were found to be fake. Yeah, they're going to be in jail for a long, long time. Who does Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we get to a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Dave is as follows. If you could remote view anything, what would you remote view? Graham. The Coruscant world in Alpha Centaurians of the Taurian lords there, 4.3 light years away, Dave, my friend. Boy, oh boy, the impact of the asteroid that killed off the dinosaurs. Brian, I can remote view anything and anywhere. I've gone places within and outside of Earth. It's very interesting. Cherry, how was the stirrup introduced to the West and by whom? Eric with a K, we are his 4th favorite show, people. We're number 4. Eric with a K says, I want to remote view Bigfoot. Haunted History, would love to review a Banksy piece of artwork being created in real time. Maybe view a Freemason meeting. Wouldn't divulge either, but just curious. Banksy would be cool. He is one of my favorite artists. Nick, I know someone that works for the NOAA. The disclosure rumors are 100% true. And the species in question, well, I want to remote view it. 13 Ballads. Remote view the reptilians arriving back at their home planet, whilst the wife and kids reptilians waving as daddy lands the mothership to a perfect landing. Oh, that's romantic. Very, very romantic. Let's move on here. What else we got? Chris wants to see other planets. Tim wants to remote view the moon landing. Davey, my non-political answer is RAF Menwith Hill or Royal Navy Forest Moor as it was in the 90s. I would love to know what they were really doing from those bases. Nikki, every lower part and section of the Vatican, the Smithsonian, and any of their buildings. Gabe, I would love to remote view who is really behind the coronavirus. Chris, your dogs. You never post their pictures, Dave. Just come on over. Cameron, I want to know what Hallmark movies are like behind the scenes. Oh, my. Tim, underneath Area 51. Gil, I want to see other planets. Danny, definitely Area 51 and Dulce and secret bases of that nature. James, the intelligence or mind intention of the grand architect of all creation. Catherine, I would love to stroll around Buckingham Palace for the comfort of my living room whilst in my gym jams. What the heck are gym jams? I'm going to assume those are pajamas. Cable Guy Matt, I want to see the moon, Mars, the poles, S4, Dulce, Oak Island's money pit. Oh, nothing wrong with that. Let's just go look for Bigfoot first, Cable Guy Matt. You got the tracks on. Let's go for it. Carrie Lynn wants to see the future. Penman Michael, I would remote view where Carl is hiding. Oh, he's way up there. I know he's way up there. Vivian wants to go to heaven before she actually sees it in person. Kira, I want to see Venus, Mars, Eros, and a few other planetary systems looking for benevolent, intelligent beings. Jackie, or is it JC? Let's go JC. It sounds cuter. The inside of my husband's brain. It would be truly fascinating. Kay gets the final word. Well, this is good. Enjoying the comment section thoroughly. I concur. Let's just remote view it. Thank you to everybody participating in the Thought of the Day. We'll do it all again tomorrow on Facebook and on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Thank you to Captain Shirk for making just a wondrous newscast tonight. Wondrous. We never get to use the word wondrous enough, so it was wondrous, Shirky Poo. And, of course, to our good friend Sebastien Martin coming in talking about UFOs, ETs, remote viewing, and the secret space program. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everybody tonight participating in our chat rooms on YouTube, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But tomorrow, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night.